Hey guys, welcome back to the studio. Christopher Blalock Fine Art. And if things seem a little not level, the adapter for my tripod for my camera broke. Got it taped together. Hopefully this is fairly level. Very quickly wanted to touch base with you about surfaces that you paint on. Now, I work in acrylic, so everything I'm going to tell you, as far as I know, does apply to acrylic. I do not know if it applies to watercolor or oil. Most things that hold true for acrylic will also hold true for watercolor, gouache, uh, but maybe not, I'm sorry, for oil and gouache, but maybe not for pure watercolor or even for watered down acrylic that's used as watercolor. So, having said that, it is very hot in my studio. I turned the fan off so you don't get the whooshing sound. And the moment I did, it is like thermonuclear hot in here. So bear with me just a moment and let's get started. Um, we're going to cover three things: the surfaces, the priming, and then also we're going to talk very briefly about framing, because this is important, a very important topic, depending on where you're showing, how you're showing, and who you're selling to. So let's just jump right in. When we prime a surface, and I left the cover off my primer, which is, of course, gesso, and I need to close that so it doesn't dehydrate. Gesso is a acrylic-based product. All over the hands there is an acrylic-based product that also has a material, a solid in it that gives it tooth, and it also has glue in it. So it's kind of this weird mixture. And I've seen videos on how to make homemade gesso. If I can find a really good one, I'll link it below. So look for that. If I can't find one, it won't be there. They do exist. It's just how high quality is the video. Do I want to attach it to mine or not? So very quickly, let's just go over some of the surfaces. The most typical thing that we'll paint with is, and all of these I think are 16 by 20 that I'm going to show you. This is, I don't really want to show the brand name because I don't have a sponsor. Is a plain old pre-gessoed primed canvas 16 by 20. This one is a little bit higher quality than some of the others. It's back stapled, which is always preferable to side stapled. And this one is pre-gessoed, and it's a really good quality. I love the tooth on it. It's got a great texture to it. I work with acrylics, as I said, but I also work with primarily stiff natural bristle brushes. And just the marriage of those brushes with this type of canvas really seems to work well. It does what I want it to do, everything I could ask of it. So this is my go-to. This is a reclaimed canvas, and this is a great way to economically make artwork. Go to a thrift store, find a framed piece of crap painting that's an original, and take the canvas out, lay some gesso on. I did not, here, let me put this up here so it's actually a little bit visible to you. I did not put my third and final coat on. You put 3 coats, sanding between each one. I left this one before the third just so you could see that it's a used canvas. But when I'm finished prepping it, it will pretty much be a brand new canvas. And you can do this over an oil, over a watercolor, over another acrylic, and you come out very cheap. You know, you're going to pay $5 at a thrift store for a frame and a canvas. You've already got your gesso, so you put, 20 cents worth of gesso on a $5 canvas and you are up and running. If you're selling for anywhere between $300 and $500 for one of these, you're making profit. So reclaimed canvas, and then my second favorite product, and I didn't have a raw sample because I've used them all. This is a recent work, figure study. It is on Masonite, sometimes called artboard. Now, it is a manufactured product that does not use any chemicals. It's just a process of heat, steam, pressure, and it makes a really great product. If you go to an art supply store, they're going to sell this as artboard, and it's going to be a little bit pricey for something this size. I think it's maybe anywhere from $5 to $7. But for $8, you can buy a sheet several feet long by about, oh, I don't know, maybe 48 inches tall, and get them to cut it at the big box store. Go to Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, wherever. Get the stuff and have them cut it for you there into standard sizes, come home, lay a coat of gesso on it, and you've got the exact same thing as the art board that you would get from, sorry Hobby Lobby, but from the big box stores, and you saved yourself a lot of money. I'll go over the difference between this and canvas here in just a moment. And then there's some extreme surfaces you can paint on. I have done paintings on scrap sheetrock. It'll hold paint very well. Be careful in the framing. Acoustical ceiling tiles, I have done paintings on those. Again, they're very soft, very fragile, but once you have them framed and backed, they look great. And then just for the giggles of it, this was a piece of cardboard, that corrugated cardboard, that was actually in the back of a reclaimed painting from a thrift store. You know, I wanted the frame. This one actually had like a cheap little print with glass over it, and this little piece in the back. But you can paint on these in a pinch, particularly for studies. All I did was slap some gesso on it, and of course the heat in here is causing it to bow. All you have to do, if you wish, is paint the other side. You'll get that equal pull, equal tension, and it will dry fairly waterproof. You have a really strange texture. So, but if you want to take this, for example, and do a knife painting, a palette knife painting, then you'll come out looking pretty good on it. All right. So let me go back real quick because I do want to move on to framing and talk about the difference in painting on Masonite versus canvas. Canvas is the ideal surface. It gives you what you want. It is cloth. It is elastic. It has some stretch to it. So as you paint, that give and that take, it kind of just grabs your paint. It holds it. It has beautiful tooth or texture on it. It gives you exactly what you're looking for. Masonite, on the other hand, is great if you want to do multimedia. This one, again, this is charcoal and acrylic, and I'm using a stomp, or stump some people call it. It's a blending tool to get those smudge effects, something you started doing way back in high school art. But because the surface has just gesso on it, it has tooth very similar to a sketch pad with the normal classic white drawing paper. So you're able to replicate those effects with your smudging tool very well. And then of course you put some sealant on it and you're groovy. Masonite is very thirsty. It will use a lot of your paint, but at the same time, you can't water your paint down as much as you do on a canvas. Remember, canvas is cloth, so it will hold that extra water. So if you want to cut your acrylic, you can. Even when you're gessoing a canvas, you can water it down just a little bit to spread it easier, and it'll take it. You can't do that as much with gesso, or excuse me, with artboard or Masonite. So I hope we're all clear on that. And then just real quickly, I want to touch on this. For the class that I'm doing here locally, I'm going to have a couple of collectors come in to talk about what they look for. And you see how I'm sweating for you people? What they look for in artwork, aside from it being good artwork. And one of the big things that I was told by the major collector in this area, he has the largest private collection in the Southeast United States. Over 800 pieces, or about 800, excuse me, pieces in his galleries, is that he won't buy unframed art. Even if it's gallery wrapped, he's not a big fan of that. He wants the frame on there. He wants to see the total package. And so a lot of artists will say, if a frame has to make your art, then you didn't really make art. The other side of that is, you know, art is what finally goes on the wall. So if your frame is good and the painting is good, then the total is a work of art. I go back and forth on this. I could easily say, you know, an unframed piece, if I edge painted, is just as good as one that's framed. It's certainly cheaper for you and I to do it that way. However, if this guy is willing to pay me an extra $200 because I framed it, and I'm able to go get a frame new for 70 bucks for 16 by 20, or like one I just finished that's in the other room. Waited for a beautiful 24 by 36 to go on clearance. Normally sells for 70 bucks. I got it for 16. So I put a Masonite piece in there. Masonite always has to be framed. It just, you can't hang it any other way. So another thing to think about when you choose what you're going to paint on, kind of ties back in. But as these pieces are framed, you can charge more for them. It's understood by buyers that you're taking that expense on yourself. The other side of that is, a lot of buyers don't want your taste in frames. They want their taste in frames. So it's kind of a way who you're aiming this product you're working on toward to know whether or not you want to frame. But overall framing, you can charge more money for your artwork, get a little bit better return on it depending on how much you invest in the frame. Don't go all out and get a custom frame that's going to cost you hundreds of dollars for a piece where you're barely going to break even. Look for those rare gems that you're going to find in thrift stores, flea markets, estate sales. You know, you might pay 20 bucks for this whole big composite, and all you really want is the frame. Sometimes it's a painting that someone did, and it's just not that good. I mean, it's certainly not yours. You know, get the whole thing, re-prep that canvas, reuse it, but the frame is nice. Don't be afraid to spend a little money, cheap money, on spray paint. And all I recommend is black, gold, or silver. If you know one of those that you can do all the great effects with a spray paint, knock yourself out. I don't. I'll either paint it gold, I'll paint it black, or I'll paint it silver, depending on what piece I'm framing, and do a good job with it. You know, don't do a haphazard, sloppy job on your spray, and then you're good to go. Um, when you market those, some people may look at it and go, okay, I'll put my own frame on it. Who cares? Once you buy it, do what you want with it. I have zero concern after you have bought the artwork. So anyway, I'm going to let you go so I can turn the fan back on and open an air vent and cool off and get back to work. You get back in your studio or wherever it is you paint or you create your art. And remember, we got to make the art, we got to show it to people, and we got to be nice. I'm done being nice for the day. I'm hot. I want to go cool off. Love you. Bye.